Welcome into the Bobby Carpenter Show. We've got a huge show for you today, and literally one of the most robust shows you're going to find. We've got Ohio State left guard Donovan Jackson going to join us. My man D-Jack, aka Donnie, as well. Awesome guy. Spend a couple of segments with him, catch up, see what he's doing, what it's like playing, obviously on the rebuild offensive line, playing over there with Josh or Jimmy Simmons, however you want to look at that. What it's like playing for Coach Day, the brotherhood, some of the crazy workout stories. Like all that's going to be coming up here in the second and third segment. So super excited to get a chance to talk to him and find out some of those things. We'll talk about a little bit of Buckeye roster moves. We're going to break down Sporting News does a list and they rank all the coaches, I believe 133, 32, 34, whatever it is. They rank them one to wherever. Where's Ryan Day on that list? We're going to dive into that. We're going to have our questions from our listeners as well. And then we'll also have our typical betting segment to dive into. But Joshua, right off the top, I want to get into this because I think it's something, that transcends all sports. People talk about, pre-game routines, practice routines, all different things like that. And Scotty Scheffler, golfer, playing in the U.S. Open down in Valhalla. And, there's a fatality, guy loses his life, and it's a tragic scene, tragic situation on his way, and he's trying to go around traffic, and it's ill-advised, but he ends up getting arrested. They take him down to the station in downtown Louisville, which is not close to where Valhalla is. And in doing this, he's got a tee time, which they push back a little bit, partially due to him, partially due to the traffic, due to the homicide or the fatality caused during the motor vehicle accident. But people are sitting there talking like you're throwing off your routine. Everybody's thinking this guy's going to blow up. He goes out and shoots a 66, which is utterly remarkable. And they talked about, Joshua, him doing stretching routines, like his pre-workout stretch routine in the jail cell, like after being booked and in his jumpsuit and everything else. And I don't know about you, like I had a very specific routine to get working on beforehand. Like everything would happen within 30 seconds of every week. Like, and I have my playlist going and all this stuff. Were you a very specific guy about your routine preparing? And if someone threw you off, how would that impact you?
I was specific down to like the meals that I would eat, not just the day of the game, the days leading into the game, right? Like I was that specific about my preparation. And so had it been me and I was in the jumpsuit sitting in the jail cell, I'd have been like, well, this day is completely over. But the presence of mind to sit there and say, I have to be where my feet are. I cannot be somewhere else, but I can do things to make sure that I am prepared for when I get back to that golf course. That's amazing. And then in the press conference, when he's talking about it, it was the most like casual, matter of fact, cool conversation that he was having. Oh, a little misunderstanding, got booked, started doing my stretching, made it back out here though. Can't talk too much about it. And it was done.
It was pretty remarkable because I'm with you. And there's probably no greater, maybe tennis, but those individual sports, like the psychological elements, like there's really no time to settle in. Like in a football game, once you start playing, you can kind of settle in a little bit. Like golf and tennis, and especially golf, like each shot's independent. And so his ability to do that, because I'm with you, like my pregame routine in college or the NFL, and it would change, from one, time to the next. But once I got there, like I was getting there, 2:45 before the game. I'd come in, I'd read through the program, look at my scouting report a little bit, go out, jog around the field, do some calisthenics, do my stretching. Meanwhile, I'm like listening to the same playlist every week, knowing at like certain songs, okay, I'm either ahead or behind, pick it up or slow it down. But like you said, you're down to the seconds, come back in, I tape my wrist, always tape my left, then tape my right. And it wasn't really superstitious. It's a pattern. It's a routine. Yes. It's a comfort. Like it was like a blanket to get me ready. And to think like, hey, dude, before a football game, we're going to take you down to central booking and process you. And then you're going to come back like not looking through, like I guarantee he's probably got some shot chart from all the different greens and the approaches of everything he's trying to do. And like, they just throw that at you. And so I wanted to make sure we talked about that and started on it and understand like how neurotic, like most players are about all that stuff. Cause that's how I was. It was crazy. And so I was just utterly impressed when I like dove in and I was like, oh my gosh, dude, my guy's out here like he's like not shooting even par. He's dominating, like literally dominating today.
And the other part about it too is like as well as he's been playing, that if there was one thing that would get in the way of his hot streak, it would be something like that.
Yeah.
And I think it just kind of speaks also to like this dude just got everything right going in his life. He's making a ton of money. He's winning tournaments. Just had a kid. Like even getting arrested ain't gonna throw him off his game, and I can appreciate that.
Even getting arrested. All right, some other big news though for Ohio State. You talk about the transfer portal. Ohio State really wasn't a big mover in bringing, losing anybody. Had a couple of depth pieces. Lost Jihad Carter. Some guys behind. Looking at some young safeties. Behind Lathan Ransom. You're sitting there looking around. Caleb Downs. I mean, there's really young players. So I think they wanted to bring someone in. They settle on South Carolina safety Keenan Nelson Jr. He transfers in. Um, I don't think people are looking at this, Joshua, as like it's a big cataclysmic move, but you're gonna need to get those guys rolling through there a little bit. And it was important to make sure you get an established player who can provide some depth and also rotate in and spell those guys over what should be a 16 or 17 game run.
I keep going back to it. I think this year depth is going to be as critical as it's ever been in college football because it's the first time the season is this long and people are going to be learning on the fly. And so I agree with you. Like, does every move in the portal have to be a huge move? No, I think you have to address what your roster needs. And if your roster needs a little bit more depth, you go and get it. And this doesn't have anything to do with Ohio State, but it's like that's the crazy thing about what Dabo is doing by like intentionally ignoring the portal is even like depth pieces that he could have had, he's not getting. So I think every time the portal's open, you should be assessing your roster and you should be looking at needs, and then you should go into the portal and see if there is a fit. And there might not be, but if there is, it makes sense to try to bring him in.
Well, and part of the problem is when you lose a guy that's a second or third year player, replacing them with a freshman isn't
It
always a
puts you behind the
great.
eight ball.
Yeah. Like you need to bring in a guy who's played some. Keenan Nelson provides that and be that bridge piece between your starters and your freshmen and someone that can be that guy, that third piece in there. So that's exciting to get that done. Also, some news that people might take the wrong way. 2025 recruit, 4-star cornerback, Blake would be decommitting from Ohio State. And so people are like, oh, losing commits. Like, what's going on? But then you look ahead and you realize, well, they've just got, I think, the 2 top corners in the country to commit. So I'm not like going to knock Blake and like, hey, you don't want to come here anymore. Well, it's a highly competitive room, and he probably is going to have a better chance to maybe go somewhere else.
That was my exact thought with it. Like I saw that he decommitted. I'm like, who? We
What?
got some corners, right? Like, and until you start looking around, it's like, okay, that makes a ton of sense. And by the way, I feel like decommitments are one of the more common things in this day and age of
Yeah.
college football. And we've seen guys decommit and then recommit or whatever the case is. Like young people change their minds pretty often. And so I don't get too caught up in it. It's just, when it's time to sign the letter of intent, you hope that your class all signs the letter of intent.
Yeah, and they're right there with it. And like the fact that they're doing a great job recruiting these guys at the corner and safety position. You've got other guys there. They probably want to add another corner, but it's really hard to get 3 top level guys because in reality, you're probably gonna have 2 elite guys a class. If you can get a third every now and then, that's great. And also sometimes you might need to get a guy that might be more suited to find someone inside. And so if you can do that, that'll be tremendous as well. Okay, so we've opened you up here, you got it done. Now you get to see the real entree. We've got my man, we call him Donnie, we call him D-Jack, Donovan Jackson, left guard, Ohio State, going to be coming up next, and you're going to get a chance to take a look inside this Ohio State offensive line and see what I find to be one of the more entertaining guys on the team. So we're catching up with Donovan right after this. All right, welcome back in to the Bobby Carpenter Show. And as always, I'm here with my guy, Joshua Perry, sitting in his his parents' house in Columbus, Ohio, and also in Columbus, Ohio, our guy, Mr. Donovan Jackson, left guard at Ohio State. Donovan, thank you for spending some time with us today. We really appreciate it, man. Excited to let the fans get to know you a little bit. You guys don't get out probably quite as much. You're watching a lot of film, doing a lot of work, but coming into this summer, what is this off season been like for you guys after getting done with the bowl game?
Man, this all season's been really fun. I think we've had around 37 new additions to the team coming in, so it was a huge getting to know you type deal coming into the winter. But once we knew everybody's names, we knew everything about each other. Okay, let's get to work. And it's been a new energy in the weight room, new energy on the field, and just everyone's having a lot of fun. And we're just can't wait to go into the fall and get to work.
You talk about the new guys coming in. You got some returning faces there as well, and the offensive line is kind of going through a metamorphosis of its own. Saw some different groupings during the spring. You got some returning guys certainly that have played a lot of ball, but just from the start of winter workouts after the season up until this point right now, Donovan, how would you describe how this group has changed and where it's headed?
Yeah, I would say this group has changed solely because there's a lot more experience. I mean, last year the only guys who had real starting reps were me and Matt Jones. And so, two of the five guys had a lot of starting reps. A lot of guys had to learn on the fly and just going through the games. But now everyone has a year under their belt for the most part. We brought in Seth McLaughlin, who has years of experience under his belt when he was at his former university. Now he's here. But it's just a lot of guys have a lot of knowledge and a lot of football knowledge, so we're able to see things faster and play at a higher clip.
What's it been like you mentioned, you and Matt were the veteran guys last year. Before that, you were kind of the younger guys. You were obviously flanked by some veteran tackles with Paris and Dewan, out there. What's it been like for you to kind of absorb this leadership role over the last year, and then coming back for this season to kind of even embrace it a little bit more?
Yeah, my sophomore years when we had Dewan, Paris, Luke, Dewan, Paris, Luke, and Matt Jones on the same line. So my job was just to play really hard, and that was like my one responsibility, is just run really fast in the right direction and get that guy. But obviously, those guys are now in the NFL doing amazing things, and now it's more I'm the older guy in the room, so now I have to be like, hey, like this you're inefficient with your feet, you got to do this, or hey, like I understand why you're doing this, but this will be a lot better. And even checking guys like, hey, like I know you can go harder, like that's not right, like you're selling everyone short right now. So just trying to keep everyone accountable, bringing that sense of leadership and responsibility to the O-line room. It's not me alone, Josh Fryer, he's another older guy in the room, and he's helping me a lot with the leadership.
There's a lot of competition on this offense specifically this year. You lose some production there at wide receiver, obviously quarterback battle. We've talked about, the offensive line and what that could end up looking like, and two really good running backs there. Can you describe what it's been like to be in that competitive of an environment this spring?
I just feel like that just brings me back to it's just a lot more fun. Everyone has to come in and get better, because if you don't get better, the guy behind you is going to overtake you and he's going to take off with it. So everyone comes in with a mission. Um, Everyone comes in, we stay after, watch film, break it down, because we know if we don't progress as a unit, either the D line is going to kick our butt, sorry, and then or someone behind us on the O line is going to overtake us. And that I feel like that mindset shared with everyone else on the team. So everyone's constantly working with each other, but at the same time, it's a huge competition, which just breeds a competitive atmosphere, which makes forces everyone to get better.
So you talk about the competitive atmosphere, and that's one of the things I really want to dive into. One of my former teammates who got to coach Joshua in the weight room. Now you got to experience him a little bit. He's on the show with us here a ton. Anthony Schlegel, you got to be with Coach Schlegs. The environment that Mickey Marotti has created in there this offseason. What's it been like, though, with my guy Schlegs just running around like a madman in the weight room?
Oh man, Coach Legs, man, he brings a different type of fire, man. Obviously, Coach Mick's always like roaring, ready to go, and then Coach Higgs, KP, AT, Coach Rose, all those guys are ready to go. But Coach Legs, man, I remember during mat drills, he come in jeans and work boots, and he's out there flying around the mats, getting everybody going, and then he's always saying gas station ready, to the point where me and Josh Fryer, we got some gas station ready shirts we wear around the weight room. We're like, Coach Legs, we're gas station ready, baby, and all that stuff. But it's just he brings a certain energy that everyone on the team loves, and it's just a great addition to the squad, man. We're happy to have him.
So, what do you know what gas station ready means? Can you describe it to the folks? 'Cause I'm curious if he's coached you well enough on it.
So he told me that say you're at a gas station and you're buying something pops off. well, you gotta be gas station ready. Like any situation, you gotta be like on go, ready to go. And so it's just gas station is one of the many examples, man. You could be grocery store ready for all Coach Salego cares. But
Well,
Waffle House ready.
Waffle
Waffle
House
House
ready.
ready too.
Waffle House ready is also another one.
Well, because Dom, you're from Texas. I mean, dude, you go to a Waffle House at 2:33 in the morning. I mean, you guys don't do that stuff anymore because you're mature and like this isn't what happens. But Schlegs, when we were in school, Schlegs would maybe go out a little bit and then maybe go to a Waffle House at 2:33 in the morning. And the things you see at a Waffle House or at a gas station at that time of night, DJ, you have no idea what it could lead to. So you got to be ready for anything at all times, which is what I think he's trying to tell you.
Hey, I understand that, but I prefer going to Waffle House when the sun's out, man. After the sun goes down, Waffle House ain't my place to be.
Hey, that's when the vampires come out, though. That's the thing that you don't realize. I mean, you're a Texas guy. You know how it gets a little wild down there. Being from Texas, what's it been like here over your last 3.5, 4 years in Columbus?
Yeah, I mean, besides not having like Buc-ee's and Whataburger, man, I love it. I mean, for the most part, coming here, I thought it was gonna be a big culture shock, but the people here are nice. Obviously, majority of my time is spent with the guys on the team, and everybody over there comes from all walks of life from different states. And but yeah, I mean, like sometimes I wish there was a patty melt, but I can't get that. That's one thing
Really,
I'm
no.
missing.
Has spoken like a true offensive lineman. I think we can all appreciate that, though. You like to have a little piece of home wherever you're at. I wanted to touch real quick on something that you said earlier, right? Because you're like, the competition, guy could overtake you. The other thing that you said is the D line could go out there and they could have a day if you're not on point. And I think a lot of us believe that this Ohio State defense is going to be one of the best in the nation, if not the best in the nation this year. From your perspective, like how much have you guys improved on offense just by seeing all those guys every day at practice?
Yeah, I mean, it just goes back to me saying like we have no choice but to get better. Like Coach Knowles and his staff, and obviously the whole defense, know they're constantly evolving with their different schemes, different packages, whatever. And so they throw the whole kitchen sink at us. So we got to be able to adapt and run the offense and execute plays. And obviously, in practice, we're going against, in our opinion, one of if not the best defense in the country. So we have to be on our stuff as an offense, be able to even have a competitive practice. Obviously, spring's a great thing because it can go back and forth. Like we'll have our days, they'll have their days, and there'll be huge battles in between. But it's just the fun of practicing against such a great squad, man. And I'm great friends with tons of the D linemen, obviously because I block them all the time and I talk a little bit to them too. But we just have fun going at each other because we know that we're just getting each other better.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to take a quick break here. We got more with my guy Donovan Jackson talking a little bit more about Ohio State coming up here after this. Welcome back into the Bobby Carpenter Show, and still with our guy Donovan Jackson. I like to call him D-Jack. I give everybody nicknames here, and he reminds me a lot of a center that I played with. Guy played 11 years in the NFL, Nick Mangold, multiple-time Pro Bowler. Donovan, you got like that same type of energy, the connectivity, relating with your offensive line. And you like to kind of ham it up a little bit. You can really like have a good time playing football, and I think that that's evident when people watch you play. You're sitting over there with a guy who came in as a transfer in Simmons. And what's it been like playing next to him? What is that relationship like between guard and tackle when you have to pass off stunts and all those different things?
Yeah, Jimmy is oh, sorry, Josh Simmons.
No,
Josh.
it's cool. I didn't know what
Yeah.
to call him because you call him Jimmy. His real
Yeah.
name's Josh. I didn't know what the heck he goes by anymore.
Yeah, so we have three Joshes in the O-line room. And so Josh Fryer, he gets first dibs on the name Josh. He was here first. Everybody else has to have nicknames. So Josh Padilla is just Dia, Josh Simmons, Jimmy. But we'll say Josh. But yeah, Josh is an athletic freak. He's one of the most explosive guys we have on the team, regardless of position. And so, in terms of on-field performance with him, it came naturally. Um, we just had to get on the same page, and that's what us learning through our first year together. But now it's like we know what we're gonna do before like the plays snap because all the experience we've had together. And so, passing off twists, obviously you have to be on the same page with the guy next to you. If you get off levels, if one guy's not in key, then obviously it can become more of a crap show a little bit. But yeah, it's just going through this spring, going through this offseason, Coach Fry and Coach Mike and all those guys, Coach Drevna, they really hypered in on technique and then being on the same page with everybody. So the we rotated a lot of guys throughout the spring to make sure everyone gets good reps. Well, every guy I worked with, especially Josh Simmons, man, everyone's getting better, and I'm looking forward to seeing what we can do with it.
Now, Bobby mentioned the connectivity of a group, and we've talked about this on the show, but one of my favorite times of year was this exact time because your class schedule isn't nearly as difficult. You're getting ready for the season, but you're not in game plan mode, and so you have a little bit more free time on your hands. And a lot of times you end up spending it with your teammates. And I remember we used to go paintball and we do pool party at coach's house. Like we would just, as a group, go get dinner, whatever the case was. What are your favorite activities to do with some of your offensive line mates outside of the Woody?
Yeah, I mean, it may be a stereotypical answer, but eating,
Where do you
we
guys like to go?
bro, we go out and eat, man. Last week, good handful of us went to B-Dubs because right now they're doing that promotion, that endless boneless wings for $20. And
Oh,
so we're
jeez.
we're we're in there seeing how far we could get. And I mean, I won. I won. We got 32 in, and I got 32, and I think Hero, a D lineman, got 30. But yeah, man, we just eat. And then Fryer said he's gonna turn on the grill, so we might go over to his place, eat over there. But it's just being around each other outside of just the facility is just a huge thing. Obviously, like you said, in the summer, we don't have such a rigorous class schedule, so all that free time, we could just spend it with each other, man. Spend it with your brothers.
So, what's your sauce of choice? And then what's Kayla say about that when you're just telling her you're down in 32 boneless wings?
She doesn't have to know about that. She doesn't know about that. I did not tell her this, but I mean, sauce of choice, man. I like the Asian zing sauce. It's a
Mm,
good flavor, a little kick to it. Um, lemon pepper, classic, never hurt
okay.
nobody, can't go wrong with it. And then maybe controversial, but I like the teriyaki sauce. I like the teriyaki sauce.
No controversy.
Yeah,
That teriyaki sauce is
the teriyaki
magic.
sauce is good, man.
Yes.
Mm.
It's that's nice, man. That's good stuff. So you talk about the connectivity, the brotherhood. You guys, when I was in school, we'd go out a lot, do a lot of things probably that we shouldn't be doing. There wasn't the streaming service. I know you guys all watch tons of shows. We've had, you know, Steele on here. We've had Cade, Lathan. Everybody, especially Lathan, started talking about some different shows he's watching, everything else. I know you guys have a lot of time and you're watching film relentlessly. You're talking about going in and watching film on Sundays. But what do we stream? What are we watching right now with some of that downtime? And do we do it with teammates as well?
Yeah, so I got a lot of streaming services. I got what anything you want, man. I got Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, Max, Peacock, DirecTV streaming. So I'm not lacking any sort of lacking entertainment, but I mean what am I watching right now? I mean my roommate Zen Mahalski, we're rewatching the Planet of the Apes trilogy because
See,
we want to watch the was it Kingdom of Planet of the Apes?
yeah.
It just came out, so we're doing that right now. But in terms of series, I've been watching The Witcher. Um,
Okay.
I want to start Fallout. I think that's on Amazon Prime. I want to start that. But then other than that, I mean, I just turn on stuff. I just
Well,
kind of watch.
you told me you'd watch like the whole like 1 through 7 seasons of Game of Thrones in a month. I mean, like, did we have
I
a dent
did.
in the couch like at that point? And what did we think of Game of Thrones, by the way?
Yeah, so this happened during quarantine. So like it's not like I was just wedged into my couch. I was forced to be inside. But yeah, like I watched it with my sister. I watched seasons 3 through 4 in one sitting. I love Game of Thrones. It's everything like that I love. So I kept pressing next episode. When I looked up, it was 3 a.m. I was like, dang, I should probably go to sleep or at least see the sun the next morning. But
That's pretty amazing.
I mean, I loved it. I love the series. I mean, of course, I have my notes on that last season. We won't get into that. Let's save that for another episode. But for the most part, man, I loved it.
I'm not a Game of Thrones guy. I know that probably Bobby used to talk about it all the time on his radio show, so I know he's probably looking at me a little bit crazy. But I'm with you there on binge watching shows on streaming. It's one of my favorite activities there. I look back on my career. I feel like there are a lot of fond memories, specifically in game, and people have those kind of like fun things. I think some of the best memories happen either on the practice field or in the dorms or like somewhere that had nothing to do with a game. So, like, is there a memory, a story that pops into your mind where you're like, I am shocked this happened, but this is one of the greatest memories I have at Ohio State?
I mean, one of the greatest memories I had at Ohio State happened most recently in this last offseason. It was one of the last weeks of winter workouts. And like as y'all know, in the last weeks, that's when the heavyweight comes out. That's when the
Yeah.
max out days come. And so whenever those days come, there's like a certain demeanor in there, and everyone's like serious, but at the same time, we're all having fun. So my favorite have to be the max out squat day, where everyone's chalked up, chalk on your back, chalk on your hands. You got chalk everywhere, and everyone's just throwing weight around. You got guys screaming, guys like holding on to the weight racks, like getting everybody pumped. You got Coach Higgs in the back with his was it what are they wearing on those match drills? The
The
auto
vest.
parts. No, the auto parts vest.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Oh
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Because
you
you're
got a
going
little
to
yeah
work.
mechanic vest.
yeah
Yeah.
they be wearing those, and like everyone's getting hype, man. It's just a great atmosphere, man. It was probably one of the best atmospheres I've been a part of, at least in the off season. So it was a fun experience.
All right, so Anthony Schlegel, who you obviously have spent some time around right now, one of the best things that he does in this world is a back slap when you're getting ready to do a heavy rep
Mhm.
on the squat rack, and it's just one of those, and it gets you fired up, wakes the CNS. Have you experienced a back slap from Schlegs yet?
I haven't experienced a back slap, but I've seen it, and I've
Oh,
seen what happens to guys who aren't prepared for it. There be guys wanting to squat and they're like focused on the bar and not know what's happening. They like the breath gets hit out of them. They're like,
oh
ah.
yeah.
And then they gotta like take a second to recollect and then get back under the bar. But I mean, hey, that's an effective slap, man. Those guys get under the bar and they go extra 3 reps.
It's great. You know, you mentioned you get the extra reps, you got max outs. One of the things that they're going to be doing, I believe if I check my calendar here and I'm not mistaken, it's going to be June 21st over at St. John's. And Joshua, you might not even know this. They converted St. John's
I
into
saw
a weight
that.
room, like they call like the powerhouse or whatever.
Yeah.
And they're going to have a deal. It's put on by the 1870 Society. So go to 1870society.com. They're going to have tickets there. And you're going to go watch one of these like competitive workouts, and it's not like some technical deal. You're gonna get a chance to see D-Jack, all these guys, back slaps, dudes getting after it, like heavyweight competition stuff, like really in the weeds. And I don't know if it'll be like a full like St. Valentine's Day massacre or Harley Davidson Day, but I think it's gonna be like that. So D-Jack, talk a little bit about what those like ultra competitive days are like in the weight room.
I mean, those ultra competitive days, man, that's when you see what you're made of. That's when you see what type of guy you're gonna be around. You know, like on those days, like you got to dig deep to find what you don't even know you found that you had inside yourself. Like those St. Valentine's Day Massacre workouts. Those are type of workouts you circle on your calendar. Like, yeah, I got to bring everything I have for those days. So for the lift at St. John Arena, man, it's gonna be an electric atmosphere. You know, Coach Mick hasn't really told us what we're gonna do, but he did confirm there will be some heavyweight moving. So that's all the confirmation I need to get excited about it.
Hey Bob, how
Absolutely.
much do we have any time?
Yeah,
Or we
one
got to
more.
get
Give him
out?
one more, Joshua.
Okay, so it's just I got to get the setup. I'm gonna get you the question. So my freshman year, we're doing mat drills, and I'm getting my butt whooped the whole time. I'm early enrollee, and they're calling me names because I keep losing at the towel fighting drill. So I end up biting a dude so I can win a rep. I bit him on the shoulder so I could win a rep. What is the craziest thing that you have seen in one of these workouts? Like we had moments, but I want to know from your perspective.
Yeah, I mean, without getting too graphic, probably the grossest I've seen at least would have to be Paris Johnson on a bike on the Echo bike.
Yeah.
It was at the tail end of it, and Paris is going, and he throws up, but it hits the
Fan.
spinner of the bike, so
Oh,
it launches everywhere. But like we all know, like we'd rather get hit by that than stop in front of Coach Mick. So we're all going, still going. Everyone's like, "Oh my gosh!" But we're still going. And Coach Mick's like laughing, but at the same time, we're still going. And afterwards, oh yeah, Paris, like never do that again. But there's plenty of stuff out there. I mean, that's one of the fun ones, but there's plenty of stuff that like happens where you're like, man, that's gross. But that's just all part of getting better.
That's phenomenal. Donovan, thank you for the time today, man. I'm gonna have to get you on my local radio show too, because people are going to hear all of these stories. We appreciate, I know you're a very busy guy. So thank you for spending some time with us, man, and enjoy the rest of your summer here and getting ready for the phenomenal senior season.
Thank you guys.
All right, coming up next, we're going to dive into some more coaching talk around the world of college football right here on the Bobby Carpenter Show. All right, welcome into the Bobby Carpenter Show. If you haven't been watching, we appreciate it now. Whether you're watching on Bally's, YouTube, please subscribe, like, leave comments. We love all of the interaction that we ultimately get with you as well. But right now, we want to dive in. Joshua and I, and by the way, how great was Donovan Jackson? Absolutely tremendous. But Sporting News every year does coaching rankings, 1 to 133, 134, whatever it is. Joshua, I don't know if you've looked at this. Do you know where Ryan Day is ranked?
So I have looked at it, and
Okay.
I will say these rankings are so intriguing to me because I feel like some people see Ryan Day as a top 5 coach in the sport, and some people are like he's borderline top 10.
And it's interesting how you do this because you have 2 guys coaching in college football right now that have won multiple national titles. You only have 3 guys as a head coach currently that have won national championships, and only 2 of them at the current school. Mac Brown being the third, who's at North Carolina, who won one obviously 20 years ago with Texas. But you got Kirby Smart at 1. He's got his 2. Dabo Sweeney at 2. And 3 with Kalen DeBoer was a little interesting, but you look at him, Joshua, he's won everywhere he's been. And so with Ryan Day being at 4 ahead of Brian Kelly, I mean, I feel like that's pretty good. And I was talking to Bill Bender about this. He's like, if Ryan Day wins it next year, he's like, he's going to be number 2 behind Kirby Smart. He's like, there's no ands, ifs, or buts about it.
I agree with that. And people, and it's funny when you talk about Ryan Day, and there's 2 ways to play it is the dude doesn't lose very often. The flip side of that is he doesn't have a ton of marquee wins. And I think that's kind of what happens. Like the margins are thin at the top, and like the games that he would lose are the games against good teams. And so I agree with you. You win the title, conversation completely flips there. It'd be more like what people were saying about Kirby for a while. This list is interesting kind of after Ryan Day for me because Brian Kelly I always struggle with. We know he's a very good coach. Did he maximize Notre Dame? Is he going to maximize LSU? It's a question. Kyle Whittingham, I love to death. And he's hard to place just, it's Utah. But Lincoln Riley's always the one that I have trouble with. I think he is a great OC. Is he a great program builder, head coach? Had some playoff appearances there at Oklahoma. I'll give him that. But certainly not the marquee national wins that you're looking for.
So a couple of things, like Ryan Day, you mentioned he's lost some of the big games, which to lose big games, you have to be in big games, which is part of it. You're playing the best teams in the country. Like you're losing to Georgia, you're losing to Clemson, like in Alabama. I mean, other teams that are right there. And by the way, he beat Clemson and he was a 50-yard field goal away from beating Georgia. It wasn't like they're blowouts and they're back and forth, despite some injuries. The thing that's interesting with Lincoln Riley is great coaches and great leaders to me always learn from their mistakes. And they always find a way to improve upon things. And the problem I have with Lincoln Riley is we've seen now a pretty large sample size of him being a head coach, similar to Ryan Day. And Ryan, you can see him continuing to evolve and do some things and continue to grow as a person and as a coach. Lincoln Riley, we've seen kind of the same issues perpetuate themselves at Oklahoma and then now at USC as well.
Yeah, and he's trying to change it, right? Because Alex Grinch is out of there, and we're familiar with him, both of us, but it felt like he was there with Lincoln Riley for a little bit too long, the way the defense wasn't producing. So you bring in D'Anton Lynn, who's a guy who, coordinated a good defense at UCLA, got to get it together. But if he doesn't, that is a flaw for me that's really hard to overlook.
It is. It's tough. It is tough. We look at some other coaches in the Big Ten on this list. Got Dan Lanning at Oregon at 12, which I think is, probably pretty appropriate. He might be able to climb up that list. James Franklin, Penn State at 14. Luke Fickell at 15. He slid down a little bit. I think he was top 10 last year. And Kirk Ferentz at 19. And I joked with Bill about Kirk Ferentz because
Yeah.
I was like, Kirk Ferentz, like if he just wins like 9 games, like is he just going to be at 19 forever? Like you'll never really drop him out of the top 25, but is he ever going to really ascend into the top 10?
Yeah, I love Kurt, and so this isn't like, meant to be derogatory toward him, but like you can make an argument that he could be in the top 15. I think you can make an argument after having employed his son for as long as he did as the offensive coordinator there. Because if they had even just like the 80th ranked offense in the country, like it's a different team. You could drop him out of the top 25 for doing something like that. It was crazy to me that he did that, but Kurt, consistent. Those guys play really well. They have an identity. He should be in all of these lists.
Absolutely. All right. Coming up next is our favorite segment of the week. We to answer your questions, the stuff you write on Twitter, YouTube, whatever, bcarp3 at JEP_RIP.
RIP_JEP.
Oh, gosh, I got to get that fixed. But I'm sorry. Or at Bobby Carp show as well. Throw them at us on the Twitter machine or in the YouTube comments. We really appreciate it, folks. We'll answer all those questions for you coming up here next. All right, welcome back into the Bobby Carpenter Show. Now we get a chance to do our favorite thing where we answer your questions. I got a couple of them coming in here today, Joshua. And like the first question that was thrown in, and a couple of different people asked it in a few different ways. As you sit here and look at it, a lot of it was stemming around the new NCAA football game, which, man, I saw the trailer drop and it was sick. And people were like, how hyped are you about this game? I'm going to be honest. I thought I was actually watching like videos of college football stadiums until I realized exactly that it was part of EA Sports.
No, it was pretty impressive. I don't play video games, so it's not something I'm going to partake in. I love all the discourse around it. The videos have been phenomenal, and I think they have a really cool chance to do some awesome things with the gameplay, considering how the game has changed during its hiatus. So this is going to be phenomenal. Like, everybody. I need your comments about the game when you get it this summer, because I'm fully locked in to following people's excitement about it.
Yeah, it's I'm super juiced about that and what it's going to ultimately be like. And we had Donovan Jackson on earlier, and people were throwing out some questions about him, and the fact that he could be playing beside of 2 transfers. When you talk about Seth McLaughlin and then Jimmy/Josh Simmons, what that could be like. Joshua, like you played linebacker, there's 3 guys. Imagine being smashed between 2 dudes who were not necessarily in your recruiting class. They were, they were in the transfer portal, guys that you pulled out, and one was this year and one was last year.
Yeah, it's an intriguing thing, and I think everybody's getting more comfortable, playing with teammates that they didn't think they'd be playing with, and I think that it's difficult, but I do think it is one of the great things that's going to prepare guys for the league. And Bobby, you know this, but on a weekly basis, you could look over and a dude that you barely know could be playing next to you because of injuries, whatever concerns happen. You got to pick up a street free agent, elevate a guy off of somebody's practice squad, whatever the case is. And so I think these guys are getting a little bit of a taste of the league too, by the fact that every year you could be with like new starting caliber guys that you didn't think you would play with.
Yeah, it's crazy. And McLaughlin played a lot. Obviously, Bama played in big games. Was in the CFP last year. Simmons maybe not as much when he was out west. I believe it's San Diego State. Now here at Ohio State, and looked good. Physical freak, as Donovan talked about earlier. We got to make sure he get him bulked up and ready to go. But he moves well. Super strong. So it's just interesting. It's a new paradigm. Like that would probably have never happened in Ohio State history before.
No, and like I think back to my days, and like part that you miss is, and Donovan talked about camaraderie a ton, and I do think it is more difficult to build some of these lasting relationships because the rosters turn over, and maybe guys aren't there for as long because they spent time elsewhere. But from the sound of it too, they are trying to make sure everybody feels like they're a part of the brotherhood, and we talk about how special it is to be a part of this brotherhood specifically. So certainly different, certainly unique, but a lot of fun to watch it.
Absolutely. All right, coming up next, final segment of the program, a little betting brought to you by Tipico Sportsbook. Excited to dive into that. A little more action with the UFL, Joshua, which is really drawing some big numbers, and people are loving football, and some Buckeyes that are involved in it, and even big plays at DC. Greg Williams, what's he up to, and what's he looking like? We'll get all that next as we wrap up the program here on the Bobby Carpenter Show. All right, welcome into the final segment of the program. Man, it's been a phenomenal show with everybody here. And now we're going to dive in to our betting segment here, the Tipico Sportsbook. They're going to change the way you bet. I keep saying it with their new Tipico Rewards program. The more you bet, the more you earn, and the more you can win. You can get up to 5% cash back on your bets. Be sure to check out our daily big play boost, giving you the best odds on all the Ohio sports. And don't forget to follow along with your favorite big play personalities on social media to lock in your bets with us all week long. Remember, must be 21 years old to gamble. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, so our featured game this week, Joshua, we got the DC Defenders at the St. Louis Battlehawks. Defenders plus 7.5. Now, what's interesting with the DC Defenders, Joshua, we got big plays Greg Williams. He's the DC of DC, if you will. We've got former Buckeye, your former teammate, Garyon Conley. He's playing with DC as well. Antoine Jackson, he's playing for St. Louis. DC, they're 2 games out of a playoff spot with only 3 weeks left to go in the season. St. Louis is looking really good thus far. Any thoughts on this game?
Well, I will give this thought here is Garyon Conley is in this interesting spot. And, I talk to him from time to time. I enjoyed playing with Garyon. This dude he is going to make it back to the NFL. He is speaking this path back to the league into existence, and I love it for him. And, playing in the UFL is just one step in this. And, he's trying to have his moments there. But if you talk to this man, I've not seen somebody so focused in so long, singularly on a goal like he is, getting back to the league. And so it's exciting to see that he has another opportunity to continue playing this game, because it can be tough when you're on the outside looking in, but he's going to find his way back in.
I think so. I love the fact I like the defenders plus 7.5. They're playing for something. These guys want to grind through it, want to get there. And like you mentioned, Garyon, he wants to get back. And this is a big deal. And I know that he's a perfect corner for Greg Williams. Greg Williams is ultra aggressive. They're going to play a ton of man out there, single high free safety, bring a lot of pressure, a lot of bear fronts, 5 down, getting after it. So it's going to be exciting. It's going to be very exciting. So excited for him, and hopefully he makes it back. And Joshua, heck, he's your age, so we'll see how much longer it takes to get him back there. He's getting a little long in the tooth, but through one grind,
man, it's still young.
Work,
still young.
Well, he's still pretty young. I mean, Eli Apple, a lot of guys from your class still out there getting it done. So really interesting to see how those guys are ultimately able to get it done. So thank you for tuning in to this edition of the Bobby Carpenter Show. We got more great guests coming through all summer long. So stick with us here